Here's another example of solving by elimination. Now, every time we do this, you first want to make sure that your like terms are lined up. So our x's are lined up, our y's are lined up, our numbers are lined up. And the next thing you want to do is see if you have a set of opposite coefficients. Coefficient on my first x value is -2. Coefficient on my second one is 1. Those are opposite because one's negative, one's positive, but they're not the same number, so they're not opposite coefficients. Now, if I look at my y values, I have a 3 on the top there and a 3 there. Those are the same number, but they're not opposite. So I do not have a set of opposite coefficients here. That doesn't mean I can't do elimination. It just means that I have to do something to make a set of opposite coefficients. I need to multiply something into one of the equations, or maybe even both of the equations, to make a set of opposite coefficients. It honestly doesn't matter whether you do this for x or whether you do this for y, but you just need to make a choice. Whenever I look at a system and I see that I have the same coefficient, in this case 3 for both y's, that's the one that I'm going to choose to do something to make them opposite coefficients. If they're both positive 3's and we need one of them to be a negative, all we have to do is multiply one of the equations by a -1. That will switch all the signs and we'll have sets of opposite coefficients. But you need to make sure that you multiply everything in one of the equations by that number, in this case -1, because if you only multiply the y value, you've changed the system and you're not going to get the correct answer. So if I multiply this bottom equation by -1, I need to distribute it through the entire thing. So it's now going to be a -x, a -3y, and the one that people often forget, you also have to do it to the number, a -3. Now, since my top y value is 3y, I don't need to make any adjustments to the top equation because I now have created sets of opposite coefficients. So I'm just recopying the first equation in the system. Now, make sure that all of our items are lined up, and we can go right to adding down the columns. -2x plus a -x, or -2x minus x, is a -3x. 3y minus 3y is 0, so y is eliminated, it's gone. -9 plus a -3, or -9 minus 3, is -12. Don't forget the equal sign. Now you have a one-step equation. Divide each side by -3, and you have an x value of 4. We now need to take that x value of 4 and plug it into one of our equations. It really doesn't matter. I'll choose to plug it into the original one here, which was x plus 3y equals 3. And we've now plugged in 4 for x, so it's 4 plus 3y equals 3. Two-step equation, subtract 4 from each side. 3y equals -1. Divide by 3 to clear the multiplication. You now have y equals -1/3. And as always, do not forget to write your answer as an ordered pair for -3.